Hey everyone, welcome to the Bold and Beautiful 24. I'm Alessio, and I'm so excited to have you here. If you love Bold and Beautiful, then you're in the right place. Make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss a video. Alright, let's dive right in.
The Bold and the Beautiful has always been a show where secrets are currency, where lies simmer just beneath the surface of family dinners and boardroom battles, and where one revelation can detonate like a bomb, leaving lives shattered in its wake. But even in a history filled with jaw-dropping twists, few things could prepare viewers for the moment when Lee Finnegan, cool, collected, and methodical, finally steps forward with news that has the potential to rip apart not only her family but also the fragile web of connections linking Sheila Carter to them. Because in a moment of raw intensity that could only belong to this soap's most dramatic chapters, Lee makes a confession that Luna Nozawa, the young, vibrant woman who has been woven into Finn's world, into the Forrester orbit, into Bill Spencer's life, into storylines of love, betrayal, and survival, is not, and never has been, Finn's biological daughter, and the impact of those words is like a thunderclap that echoes through every relationship, every feud, and every fragile alliance in Los Angeles, because up until now, Luna's identity and her connection to Finn have been used as both a bond and a wedge, a way for characters to claim loyalty or throw accusations. But Lee's revelation strips away all of that and forces every single person to reconsider what they thought they knew, especially Sheila, who has clung desperately to the idea that Finn is her lifeline into a world of legitimacy, a son she can claim, and, through him, a family she can wedge herself into. But what happens when Luna, the girl Sheila has often regarded with suspicion, contempt, or warped curiosity, is revealed to not share Finn's DNA at all? Because in that moment, everything shifts, the power dynamics between Lee and Sheila, the choices Finn has to make about his loyalty, the way the Forresters react to yet another scandal intruding into their lives, and even the way Luna herself must grapple with the rug being pulled out from under her in the most devastating fashion. And the way Lee reveals it is not with a dramatic shout or an angry outburst but in her typically precise, almost surgical fashion, as though she is delivering a diagnosis in a hospital room rather than a secret that could destroy lives, telling Sheila with a calm steeliness that belies the chaos she's unleashing. Luna is not Finn's biological daughter. And those words cut Sheila to the bone not just because of their content, but because of the source. Lee, who has always stood like a gatekeeper, barring Sheila from her son and her grandson, now standing in front of her like a judge handing down a sentence. And Sheila is left reeling, trying to process whether this revelation is a weapon being used against her, another manipulation, or whether it is the truth. But then Lee continues, outlining how she discovered the truth, how for years she kept suspicions buried, how DNA tests that were supposed to confirm connections instead revealed discrepancies, how pieces didn't add up, and how finally she pieced it together. Luna is not Finn's daughter at all. And the timing of this revelation is almost cruel because Luna has only just begun to feel as though she belongs, as though she is carving a place for herself in this powerful, messy world. With her ties to Bill Spencer deepening, with her place at Forrester Creations feeling earned, with her complicated relationship to her mother Poppy still in flux, and suddenly the one anchor she thought she could claim, her connection to Finn, her supposed brotherly bond, her family tether, is ripped away from her by Lee's cold, unwavering truth. And the ripple effect of that is seismic, because Finn himself is left stunned, hearing that the girl he has tried to protect, the one he has stepped into arguments for, the one he thought shared his blood, is in fact a stranger in terms of biology, though of course blood is never the full story, and yet the weight of those words cannot be ignored, because this is a world where family names and legacies matter, where paternity has always been more than a technicality, where who your parents are determines the doors that open or slam shut. And as Sheila stands there, absorbing the news, her mind racing, she realizes this revelation could be both a curse and a weapon. A curse because it complicates her own standing, because if Lee has been hiding this secret, then maybe Sheila can turn that deception against her, expose Lee for manipulating family ties and question her moral authority, but also a weapon because Sheila, in her twisted brilliance, might find a way to use Luna's new outsider status to isolate her, to crush her, to bend Finn's sympathies back toward his mother, Yet what no one seems to realize in that instant is that Luna herself is the one who suffers most, because for so long she has fought against whispers of not belonging, of being an interloper, and now the woman she trusted to tell her the truth has delivered a fatal blow to her sense of identity, and the pain on her face tells the story of a young woman suddenly stripped bare, a young woman who must now ask herself who she really is, what her place in the world is, and whether she will ever be anything other than an outsider in a family obsessed with bloodlines and power. And Lee, though delivering the news with a veneer of control, is not immune to the tremors herself, because she knows that by revealing this she has shattered more than just Luna's illusions. She has exposed herself to questions, to accusations, to demands of why she stayed silent, why she allowed the lie to persist for so long, and whether her motivations were truly to protect or to punish. And as Sheila's eyes widen and her lips curl into a twisted smile that only Sheila Carter could wear, viewers can already see the storm brewing, because Sheila is not the kind of woman to take a revelation like this and crumble. No, she takes it and molds it into ammunition, into leverage, into the next step in her endless campaign to be seen, to be heard, to be loved by a family that has always rejected her. And she knows immediately that this news could fracture Finn's relationship with Lee, could create a wedge between Finn and Luna, and could even destabilize Bill Spencer's fierce protection of Luna, because if she's not tied by blood, then what is she really to them? And that is where the true cruelty of Lee's revelation lands, because though it was spoken as a truth, as a cleansing of the lies, it is instantly transformed into a tool of manipulation in the hands of Sheila, who has never met a truth she couldn't twist. And so the fallout begins, with Finn caught in the middle, torn between his loyalty to the woman who raised him, the mother who has always stood by him, and the woman who gave him life, who now sees a chance to use this chaos to tighten her grip, while Luna is left on the outside looking in, struggling to breathe under the weight of rejection, humiliation, and confusion. And though this may have started as Lee's revelation, it is Luna's life that may never be the same again, because secrets on the bold and the beautiful are never just about the past. They are about the future, about what doors they close, what wars they ignite, and what hearts they leave irreparably broken. Because the thing about Lee's confession is that it doesn't stop in the room where it was spoken. It seeps outward, creeping into every conversation, every glance, every interaction, like poison slowly spreading through a bloodstream. And what begins as a shocking disclosure to Sheila quickly becomes the kind of revelation that no one can keep contained. Because Sheila is not built to keep secrets unless they benefit her directly, and she immediately sees this as her chance to turn the tables, to finally stand in front of Finn with something that could destabilize his trust in Lee, the one person who has always held her at arm's length, because Sheila knows Finn reveres Lee, respects her, has leaned on her as a moral compass. But now she wonders how Finn will see her once he learns she has kept something this monumental hidden for years. And so Sheila begins to craft her approach, her tone, her performance, because Sheila Carter has always been an actress, a chameleon shifting her persona depending on what will get her the reaction she needs. And in this case she knows she has to present herself not as the gleeful villain, but as the wronged party, the mother robbed of truth, the outsider denied a chance to connect honestly with her son. And at the same time, Lee is grappling with the fallout on her own, realizing that in speaking the truth, she has opened the door for Sheila to weaponize it. And though Lee prides herself on logic, on reason, on a surgeon's ability to remain detached, she cannot deny the knot of dread forming in her stomach at the thought of Sheila taking this revelation and twisting it. And the Forrester family is soon dragged into the storm too, because Luna is not just some distant figure in Finn's world. She has become tangled up in Forrester creations, in Bill Spencer's affections, in Wyatt and Liam's concerns, in Hope's fragile sense of stability. And when the news begins to circulate, reactions vary from sympathy to suspicion, from pity to outright disdain, because in a family that has been torn apart time and time again by secrets of paternity and maternity, from Ridge's battles with Brooke and Taylor, to Steffi and Hope's rivalries, to Bill's own complicated family tree, this kind of revelation is almost expected yet still devastating. And for Luna it feels like her entire existence is being erased, as though everything she has worked for, every bond she has fought to build, is suddenly undermined by the idea that she is not who she thought she was. And while she struggles with that, Bill Spencer's fury grows, because Bill has invested his time, his heart, and his reputation in protecting Luna, in standing by her even when the Forresters sneered or when others cast doubts. And though Bill is not a man who cares about bloodlines in the way that Forresters do, he does care about loyalty, about honesty, and the idea that Lee sat on this truth for years infuriates him, makes him want to confront her, to demand answers, to threaten her with the full force of Dollar Bill's wrath, because as much as Bill has been portrayed as ruthless in business, when it comes to family and those he cares about, his anger can be volcanic, and Lee, though unshaken on the outside, knows that Bill Spencer is not someone to take lightly, especially when his protective instincts are inflamed. And then there's Finn himself, caught in the eye of the storm, the man who has lived his life believing in truth, believing in medicine, believing in facts, now forced to deal with the emotional complexity of a secret that challenges not only his relationship with Luna, but also his faith in the woman who raised him. And Finn's confrontation with Lee is heartbreaking, because he doesn't scream or rage like others might. Instead, his disappointment is palpable, the quiet, aching kind of pain that cuts deeper than shouting ever could, as he looks at Lee and asks how she could let him live under a lie for so long, how she could let Luna believe in something that wasn't real. And Lee, with her usual sense of justification, tries to explain that she thought she was protecting him, protecting their family, but Finn isn't sure he can accept that excuse. And in the shadows, watching it all unfold, Sheila waits for her moment, because Sheila has always been opportunistic, always waiting for the crack in the wall so she can wedge herself in. And this is the biggest crack yet, the moment when Finn might be vulnerable, enough to let her words take root. And Sheila plays it perfectly, softening her voice, letting her tears glisten, telling Finn that she knows what it feels like to have the truth stolen from you, that she understands the betrayal of lies, that she too has been robbed of honesty. And for a moment Finn, in his exhaustion and confusion, listens, and that is all Sheila needs, a foothold, a chance to plant herself in his life again. And while all of this is unfolding, Luna herself spirals, because identity is not just about biology, but when you are told that the one person you thought was your family anchor is not connected to you at all, it feels like drowning, like losing oxygen. And Luna finds herself in a dangerous place emotionally, questioning her worth, questioning whether she even belongs in Los Angeles, whether she belongs at Forrester Creations, whether Bill's love and protection are even real or just a fleeting fascination. And Poppy, her mother, becomes another focal point, because Luna demands answers, demands to know how much her mother knew, demands to know who her real father is, demands to understand why her life has been built on shifting sand. And Poppy, who has always been flighty, evasive, driven by survival and charm rather than brutal honesty, struggles to answer, her silence speaking louder than any words. And Luna feels abandoned all over again. And in that vacuum of truth, Sheila sees another opportunity, because Sheila, ever the manipulator, begins to approach Luna not with hostility but with a warped kind of kindness, offering her sympathy, suggesting that she too knows what it's like to be cast out, to be told you don't belong. And while Luna recoils at first, hurt and furious, there is a danger in her vulnerability, a danger that Sheila might worm her way into her psyche the same way she has tried to worm her way into Finn's, because when you are desperate for belonging, even the most poisonous voice can sound like comfort. And meanwhile, the Forresters rally, with Ridge, Brooke, Steffi, and Hope all weighing in, each with their own perspective. Ridge furious that yet another scandal threatens the family brand, Brooke sympathetic but wary of Luna's ties, Steffi cold and dismissive, believing Luna has always been trouble, and Hope quietly heartbroken for Luna, knowing better than most what it feels like to have your identity constantly questioned, to have your legitimacy constantly undermined. And these conflicting responses only deepen Luna's isolation, making her feel like no one is truly on her side except Bill, who becomes her fiercest defender, standing in front of her, like a wall, daring anyone to cast her out. And yet even Bill cannot shield her from the internal torment of wondering who she really is. And as Lee watches the chaos spin out of control, there is a flicker of doubt in her usually steely demeanor, a question of whether she did the right thing by finally telling the truth, because though she has always prided herself on being the one to keep things in order, she may have unleashed more destruction than she ever intended, and the irony is not lost on anyone that Lee, The woman who spent years trying to protect Finn from Sheila's chaos may have handed Sheila her biggest weapon yet, because Sheila thrives in confusion, in pain and fractured families, and now she has a stage set perfectly for her to insert herself as the one who understands, the one who empathizes, the one who is always there when the others cast you aside. And though everyone else sees the danger, Finn and Luna, in their grief and confusion, are both more susceptible than ever. And so the story pivots not just on the fact of Lee's revelation but on the consequences of it. Consequences that stretch like cracks across the foundation of every relationship tied to these characters. Consequences that could turn allies into enemies, lovers into strangers, families into battlegrounds. Because on The Bold and the Beautiful, the truth is never just the truth. It is a weapon, a test, and sometimes a curse that lingers long after the words are spoken.